foul, filthy rat.
He is. You're not the only one lurking, lurker. I see you there. Jick, as they would say in New Zealand, MacArthur. Great to have you there, named after the Pacific General and Mars Project, Elon Musk. Welcome, team. It is Friday. Not Friday the 13th, however. This is the start of March, and we're here, and we're going to hit off with a subject that should be very topical to every single person on Earth. So if you're watching right now, let's see our subscribers and membership go up to at least 1 billion, and then I'll buy a hot dog van. And guys and gals, we've worked out all the bullshit I had going in the background. We've got an introduction. We've got a stellar show on for you tonight. We've got Lauren is shining down in slips for those that watch cricket.
Yeah, I'm here.
She's here. That's not her in the background.
No.
Okay, but team, I had to jump on. As soon as I looked up and saw Jick MacArthur come up there, and I'm going to throw this out to you, some tentacles in your guts. Straight up. What a great way for me to come onto the stream tonight. Thank you very much, mate. What's your cow?
It's a kraken! Feed him a mother-in-law.
Sorry, I'm just
That
trying
should
to
make him happy. Welcome,
Gary Kaz, long time no see. The bullfrog is here. Ridip. Can we get some thumbs up for our newest member? Okay, Jack MacArthur, or Jick MacArthur in New Zealand. And let's really also be excited for the fact that New Zealand today and the lesser islands, smaller islands, but not less significant, dodged a bullet today with the tsunamis, with the earthquakes, etc. So to our New Zealand brothers and sisters across the Dutch, there's a couple, Jack Finlay, something's going on. Jick is the name that is prominent tonight. Jack has just become a member. Oh no, he's upgraded to the bearer of coffee. Thank you very much for that caffeine, sir. I will ensure that I get that in my guts, and that will make me a better version of me, as I still get swiped left. But thank you. Did you know that some of my most favourite ladies on earth, Lauren, are actually Kiwi women?
Yes, I actually did know that about you.
Yeah, but they scare me because they've got so many fans, so many people that want to hold their hand, you know, and I am not at the size, coming like a wrecking ball kind of guy that would be able to represent her in our southern island nations. So that means that my what would you call it? I joined the army to be with weapons, not to be a boxer. Let's just say that.
Maybe you shouldn't be so intimidated.
I'm not intimidated. I'm not scared of anyone. I've been bashed by heaps of bigger people. Bashed is bashed.
Well, then you go find yourself a brown-eyed, big-boobed New Zealand beauty.
And a big bum as well.
Oh, you are? Okay, well, we can add that to the list.
Yeah, don't mind that. That sort of comes stand with the modern girl, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Ryanopoulos is here. He says, look at that. He thinks he's a gentleman. He says hello. We say g'day, mate.
Good grief, he's only just walked in.
Yeah, ambush. You know, we've worked out what's going on with the slideshows, etc. We've got a video coming to you, and we're going to make that at the 10-minute mark. So if you're watching this on replay, welcome. No matter what village you've come from, this is where your home can be, or this can be where you chill out. But the 10-minute mark, we're going to put on a video so you can flash forward to that, or you can wait if you're in chat at the moment. Become a member if you wish. You know, the intention is that tomorrow we're going to put out a video that is going to be a isolated version of conscription / national service. Do you believe in it? Aiden Ruth. Oh no, do you know what that is? I'm getting my ass kicked because I haven't got him his shirt yet.
No,
So that's now gone up to 3 shirts.
OSB in exactly a week. I'm excited and feeling more prepared every day. Thank you for your assistance, Kaz and Lauren. I'll be back here in a week with either good news or my tail between my legs. But that won't stop me trying again in 6 months. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Aiden, every time I try to transition, you know, I cannot get used to my sausage between my legs. So I get what you're saying there. Mate, you don't need to be throwing, okay, the sunburnt cow out to us, mate, because you're home here.
Exactly, and you won't have to come with your tail between your legs. Just come back anyway.
That's it.
You know, you don't have to feel shame about it. It's try again here.
And Aidan, we need to have a conversation. Don't go in there cold cocked, so to speak. Again, one's talking about the poultry. Mate, what I'd like you to do is let's have an hour's long chat so that you are absolutely prepared when you go in there. We've had Andrew, a fantastic guy, also that spoke to me that got some bad news. They said come back in a year. He's fine with that. We see thumbs of 3 that are starting to happen down here. The real epidemic that was started by Carl, who dwells on rooftops. If you're happy and you know it, get the clap.
What?
It was on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Let's throw out the not too cow. This is bigger than tentacles. Aidan Root. 3 shirts. They'll come to you. You'll probably get them at the academy.
I accept.
Guys and girls, it's a fantastic channel, but believe me, you and Lauren knows this too, you do not need to donate anything, team.
No, you don't, but, you know, we know you want, I know you want to. I'm always saying to Kaz, they want to. They don't do it because you ask them to. They do it because they want to.
It's, we've got JR Charlton? Junior.
Yep.
Junior Charlton has just become a member in order to get his tentacle and his first rank, which is recruit / soldier, if you will. So he must be for conscription, or national service. This is your tentacles coming around here. Can we welcome JR to the family while we also do some hands of colour?
Feed him a mother-in-law. That
Okay,
should
for Aidan
make him
Root,
happy.
who really showed his colours in the marathon stream for Roddy. So that's where he really came into fame. I've got the headphones in, says Carl P., who dwells on the ceilings, as we say, who's probably getting for his kilometre split. And you should be nervous at the moment. I don't know if Lauren is, but the challenge is going out soon, and you can feel free to do it with your family if you want, Lauren, out of humour.
Yeah.
How fast can you run a kilometre?
Oh, sheesh.
It's fair enough for Lincoln and Justin to throw their times down. Those times, again, for those that missed them the other day, included maybe Carl, who came a little bit later, because he selfishly was looking after his family's wishes. Lincoln got 5 minutes and 27 seconds and beat his PB by 1 complete minute. Fantastico, as they say in Spanish, or Dora. Justin got 5 minutes and 9 seconds, and that is his benchmark time. Okay, and then we've got Carl, who went from 3 minutes 54 to 3:57 with a second lap. Now, as we recommend, do 3 of those, team. 20 minutes in between. Bring the time down in between those laps. It's still never going to take more than an hour before you're done for the day. And what's going to occur is you take the average of the 3 times, and that becomes your time. You know, cardio is going to give you the better life. Cardio is your ability to be better at free diving, running, moving your carcass. No matter how much I go to the gym, no girl's going to suddenly come over and go, I swipe right because you put the work in. That's not going to happen. But if you're jumping off jetties, running up hills, getting the better photos from the different angles, not being afraid to lay in the dirt, you're laughing. You've got the questionable vids. Has become is here too. Is enlisted. Thank you, mate. You are welcome. Can we get the thumbs up, sorry? And it's 1 minute and 10 seconds before we begin the introduction to this video for tonight. The formal introduction to the video. So questionable vids. Let's get some thumbs up there. Spartan's now thrown him and Carl P's. There's plenty of cracking on there, so let's give him some more. Cracking for his crack. Thank you very much for joining our humble army. We're just trying to get to 1 billion.
It's a kraken. Feed him a mother-in-law. That should make him happy.
Mother-in-law, I wouldn't imagine tastes very good. Even a kiss on the cheek at Christmas, you come away with a bit of a musty aftertaste.
Can I just say something?
You can talk for 30 seconds.
Okay, well, Dark Spartan is here, and he said, G'day, Cass and team. Been a fan of your channel since the beginning. After nearly 10 long years, I've finally been accepted into ARA.
Excellent.
And was was made class 4 medically unfit, but got there in the end. Well done.
That is the message that keeps us doing this sort of thing. You know, there is so much resilience from the people in this channel, whether it be Carl, whether it be AM, okay, whether it be the Spartan of colour, Dark Spartan. You know, we hear so many stories of those that get over adversity. We had one fellow that got out of a religious cult using our channel and then ended up going to Kapuka. And then we went to Kapuka for his march out because no one else was going to come. And he's now married, happy as hell, having a fantastic life. There is so many stories that Lauren and I know about that we don't always get time to share with you. It's fantastic. Without further ado, shall we put on... I'd love to hit that bird with that bloody horn there. I know you'll see that. Okay, guys, this is going to be the introduction. We said it was going to happen at the 10-minute mark, and here it comes. Ready?
Hey team, how we going? It is Kaz from the Trenches with Kaz, and we were going to speak about conscription / national service. Should we have it? If not, why not? How many countries in the world do you think actually already use conscription or / national service? What is a possible negative to this for a country? Is it not the umbilical cord being cut between child and adult? A definitive moment in the sand where you become a different version of you based on teamwork, mission outcomes, leadership. Do you have any? I can't see a single negativity. I know how many countries in the world use it. I didn't know until today. I'm impressed. What better way than to give some foundation, some points that have been dropped by parents or never taught at all. A way to give you a canvas, some stability, some social order that allows you to have friendships you wouldn't have had without it. Maybe it's where your wife or husband is going to come from if you're a sailor. Pros and cons, let me know in the comments. What are they? Do you really have a problem with it? Would you enlist today if your country's borders were being threatened, or wouldn't you? And if you wouldn't, does that make you equivalent to someone that would get on the life raft of the Titanic and then complain that the seats were uncomfortable, COVID, while others, went to their demise so that you could have that said seat? In your life, is it okay for everyone else to support you? If not, then it should be a tick for national service. Not everyone can do it. Naturally, there's things that are wrong. But that shouldn't be your decision. That should be made by an authority that says physically, mentally, you don't have the acumen or IQ to be able to do this. After all, it is harder to get into the military than what it is in a university. Did you know that?
It only goes for 3 minutes.
Let's talk about it tonight. Let's talk about what if you didn't join. Pros and cons. I can't think of any real cons. You don't have to be comfortable with the decision, you can be scared of it. But it will teach you about assertive conversation. It will teach you that you are not everything you think you are, and if you are that sort of person, meet me outside kind of guy, gal, then wouldn't you enlist and show people through your actions what you're made of? Let me know in comments below, and welcome to the stream as we discuss the building blocks to your life, to what may be next, or to the people that you decide, friends, brothers, sisters, for the rest of your existence. Doors open and close. If you don't travel through any doors, don't blame anyone when your life is shit, because here you live. Okay? You're not meant to get through life without cuts and scrapes and abrasions. Stop bubble wrapping yourself. Get with it. Red Bull will give you wings. That's all. See ya. Hey, team, how we going?
So, team, I hope you get something out of that, because at the end of the day, it is not fair for everyone to sit back and allow the same people to always step up, but then also not have the ability to be able to actually address the critics, to have a silent voice, because for you to speak out would mean that you're speaking on behalf of Army, which we know is absolutely pollywaffle in a public pool. the stakes. People think this is a new thing, Lauren.
Yeah.
But before professional armies occurred, there already was national service conscription. What happened was everyone that was a citizen, put the rakes down for the time, and fighting season came on. And from there you went and consolidated your borders. And then when that was done, you came back and took up the tools again, and you became a citizen again.
Yep.
But then when Gaius Marius made professional armies so that lesser people that didn't actually own land, etc., could step up and then become a professional soldier where they didn't have to buy their own armour, they didn't have to buy their own sandals, tent, etc., then all of a sudden people got to start getting wealthier and wealthier. And then what we saw was a disconnect between those of the political class that will never serve and those that will always serve. And then you've got all those in between. Now, if I was to ask you a question here, team, Mr. Gray, how you going? G'day, guys. I'm not hanging around, just back from sea. Did unit readiness and mission, is that mission rehearsal exercise? I can't quite see it. And back out Monday. Well, mate, all the best to you and your clacker, and I hope it comes back intact.
Yep.
And I feel the pull of the ocean too, especially in a rip. Lauren.
Yes.
You can be the voice of the people here. Carl,
Okay.
get off Google. Stop trying to beat the game. Conscription and national service. How many countries in the world do you believe have it? I think I might have actually spoken to you today about it.
You did, but I didn't actually know until you told me. I actually didn't know. I wouldn't have been able to guess.
Okay.
I really don't know. I would presume maybe a few.
It's more than you think.
Okay.
And naturally there is a difference between conscription and said national service. Normally conscription happens when you're in trouble or you're living in a dictatorship to overcome a problem. Can we just quickly see what Andrews wants to ask? Andrew, you can ask away, mate.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
No, the answer is no, mate.
and that's not the sort of question you ask folk.
Yeah. But people have because of my actions.
Yeah. But
Without going into it.
it's not a smart question to be asking any veteran to go up and do that. That's not a good question at all. Have a bit of consideration. I'm presuming Andrew's young.
Okay, so we've had one person. Aidan Roos says 3. Carl P says 7. Cameron Murphy says 20. Get off Google. JJ, the submarine there. JJ's about to go and spend his time where no one can hear him scream, joining up on the Submariner. I hope you like the smell and taste of farts. Curried egg again. Boys Life, what's your score on the PFA? Andrew, okay, sorry. It's okay, Andrew. It's all right, mate.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, let's let them know. There's 28 countries.
Wow, really?
28 countries. As I start to read these out and some of the information that goes along with that, I want you to start to think as well so that you get a little bit of a heads up before the video comes out tomorrow or Sunday on national service. What stipulations do you believe it should come in? And let's take into account, what do you think is a negative? If there is a single negative to national service, because it will come with conditions as well. And we're going to speak about this to give you some more meat on the bones, Lauren. Okay, I'll give you one hint. There's only one that is compulsory for males and females.
Yeah, see, and it really, I suppose in this day and age, should be.
Well, absolutely. If you're going to vote, if you're going to have equal vote, if you're going to be the noisy, squeaky wheel, then you've got to have a fight in the game. So Israel is the age is 18. Happy birthday, Israel. And that's both genders. But what they don't say there and what they play on sometimes is just because the female is wearing the uniform doesn't mean she's in infantry. These are considered gap year military, like in Australia.
Yeah.
They're not actually going to go and then they've got the regular army on top. So they do the national service, which gives them the standing, the customs and traditions, and Australia gave them their nation for starters, in case a lot of people didn't know. And from there, what happens is everyone has a corporate sense of duty for the borders and their nation. And you also know that everyone has done their time, and that's what separates, again, youth from adults. So prior to doing your service, you are in a subcategory. You haven't actually earned your skates, so to speak. So Israel, Armenia, 2 years, all males between 18 and 27 years old. So there's a bit of shift room there, and that also allows for study, etc. So Austria, 6 months, male only, 12 months service. However, if you are a conscientious objector, or you can't do it for some reason, then you have to do double the time, 12 months, working in a Holocaust museum. So that's the swap out, and that's fair enough. You've got, I always have trouble with this name, and it sounds exotic. Azerbaijan, men only, 18 months. If you are a year 10 graduate or under, you'd imagine a year 10. However, if you do year 11 and 12, so you can start to see the cost, the positive cost here, that you only do 12 months if you complete year 12.
Yeah.
Fantastic. There has to always be a bit of gravy. Yum. Something that gives you the potential to be a better citizen through education, okay, through service, through teamwork, through resilience, etc. Belarus, okay, males only, 18 months, again, year 10, but if you do year 12, 12 months, right? Fine. And most of these you were then considered also Army Reserve after that by default. Bermuda, conscription lottery. But if you get picked, it's males only, 38 months. So you will turn up there, and then from there they'll go, okay, Bermuda Triangle. That's probably where they all go if they don't want to bloody serve. Become sailors, right? That's an expensive cost right there. Get one in the jacksie in the bloody showers. Even if you're not a criminal. 38 months. So if you pick right or wrong, that's what you're doing. Brazil. On your 18th birthday, you go into the office and decide, am I in or am I not? And then from there, they believe only about 10% actually get told, but we don't need you. So only about 10% end up serving. Now I'm going to just start kicking through the names, and if there's something of note, I'll bring it up. Myanmar, Cyprus, 24 months, 38 months. 24 months, so 2 years if you're in Cyprus, Greece. But if you're a conscientious objector, well done. 38 months of community service.
That's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yep. So am I. Denmark, 4 months. Okay. Male only. Egypt, male only. 14 to 36 months. But you can get out of that if you pay a fine. And I believe that fine is like $504, which is a lot of money in Egypt. However, again, if you do that, you are not allowed to have any public office forever in your life. You are not allowed to represent the country because you've brought discredit to yourself, your name, and your family for being unpatriotic to your nation.
Really?
Yep. Finland, male only, 165 days. Greece, 9 months. Iran, 24 months. North Korea, probably life. South Korea, yep, they've also got national service. Mexico, 18 years old. Congratulations, you're in the military. Morocco, Norway, Russia, Singapore, Switzerland, Taiwan, Thailand, Tunisia, Turkey, Ukraine, United Arab Emirates. Questions for you. Should Australia have national service? If not, why not?
I don't hate it as an idea. I wasn't sure, but when we had a chat earlier, and you said to me you wanted it for everyone, and I was a bit surprised because you said I was a bit surprised until you explained it to me. And you also reiterated to me that, it should be male and female. And when you said the percentage of jobs in the military that are combat jobs, it's very small. So a lot of those jobs aren't going to be just sending young people into battle. You know, that's important to remember.
It absolutely. And this is again takes us back to the Israel project,
Yep.
where you're not going to fight just because you do a national service. You're not going to fight just because you're conscripted. You're going to fight if you're a volunteer in the regular army, and then that's what you join up for. Okay? This is about making their country dangerous because they're surrounded. Australia, we are losing a generation at the moment, males and females, because of social media, because of the power giants, the messages coming through Facebook, Instagram,
Exactly.
TikTok.
And they're being pulled in all different directions.
Absolutely. Depression has never been worse than now. It's worse now than the Great Depression.
Exactly. And what's causing it?
Well, it's everyone being told to be sensitive.
Yeah, it's everyone being told you should be this, you should be
Yeah.
that. And often, even in the same media, they're contradicting messages.
If you're fat, you're fat. Do something about it. You know, if you're this, you're that. If you're that, you're that. I never need to hear a single thing about the LGBT again in my life, because that's your sexual orientation. Do not give a shit. You can come to my house like anyone else. You can sit at my table. You can break bread with me. I'll buy you coffee. Don't give a shit about your sexuality.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we're seeing now all across this mafia of the LGBT community, where all of these buildings now have the rainbow flag flying because they're getting the whip held to them to say you'd better show that you support us, because if you don't show physical support, you must be against us, which is not true.
No, and I bet it's only a small portion of the actual LGBTQ plus community.
It's the same. It's the same people that are the lawyers for Aboriginals.
Whenever you've got like a people group, there's always a very loud group of troublemakers, and they always hand the microphone to the biggest idiots.
Opportunists.
And they're the ones, I think, who go around and set these agendas. But they're not really doing anything to help the core issues that community is facing.
Yep. And this is where I think national service would be the delineation between youth and adult. It would be an area where those that are potentially coming from families where they haven't been taught the skills can now officially get taught them in a military environment, where they still get to choose whether it's a combat corps they're moving towards, support corps, okay, and these things can bridge into other skill sets when they get out, where they would normally potentially have been unable to get these roles. But it's also creating friendships that they wouldn't have had with potentially conservative, tribal, compassionate people.
And we might be able to break that multi-generational welfare cycle for some folk. And the truth is they wouldn't get that opportunity to have that responsibility. I've seen most people thrive with responsibility and community, and they would get both of that.
That's right. The military is one of the only places that I've seen, whether it be Army, Air Force or Navy, where when you turn up to a building with 50 strangers that are wearing the same uniform as you, you absolutely can walk up to any group of people and go, "G'day guys, how you going? What's happening? Where are you guys from?" You can't do that in civilian life.
No.
You know, you can't walk up to 50 people, a crowd, and go, "Hey, what's going on? What are we all up to?" They're going to go, "There's the village idiot. He's a freak." You know?
Exactly. Everyone's going to hold their children a little closer and road.
In the military, we don't let you sit by yourself unless you've said to us, "Hey, I need some time to myself." Someone will come over, break some bread with you, drag you over, and they'll introduce you and vouch for you based on the fact that you're wearing a uniform that says that you are following the footsteps of the Anzacs voluntarily, and that you must in some way be worth your salt until proven otherwise. I think it's a great idea. How would they implement it? Who would instruct it?
I think it's a good idea too, because I think it would really help our society. I think it's also important that you mentioned the conscientious objectors before, because look, love them or hate them, that we need them, because if they don't have that choice to object to doing that kind of service, then we don't live in a free society. But they do need to do some kind of service.
Yep.
So, like we were talking before, they could serve in the community domestically. I think it's a great idea.
Yep, I do too. And if they don't serve, even better. We get 24 months out of them doing something else.
Yeah, exactly. And they might find their calling there too, you know.
Yep.
So I think we've got to think of how we want Australia to be in the future.
We do, and we need to do it before the problem is too big where it's reactionary. This has to be something that you instill and become famous for. And I could imagine every country that has the conscription has a national service. Once people have done their service, there's a different version of population that you have within your borders that is better, because they are now not just team orientated, but they're more about putting food on the table instead of just taking it off.
And then everyone is a part of the vision for Australia for the future. Everyone is invested in it.
Yep. So basically everyone is either in the Army Reserve or the regular army at one point. Yep. And if you can't serve for a reason, like I said in that video before, you don't get to make that reason. That will come from the doctors, that will come from whoever, but you don't get to decide yourself. Because I'll tell you something else that's going to save is this epidemic of obesity that's happening in our country too. A lot of people don't get that chance, whether it be schools, whether there's not an energetic cadre of male teachers that want to get out and run around during the lunchtime rather than be in the bickering bloody staff rooms.
Yep.
You know, people don't all have energetic parents now that they're both working. You know, this would be a way that people can get put into ways of training to pick them up and allow the military in some way to be the catcher's mitt of lost souls, to give people their second chance.
Exactly. Yeah, because, you know, people are lost. Young people are lost out there. Not everybody is as motivated as the fine people we have in our chat, you know, or in our families. There are some people who have had really cruddy upbringings and, you know, really just need to have an opportunity to learn from older people, to, you know, have some responsibility given them to them, you know, a chance to shine.
Shine. And this is where it comes to hand up instead of hand out, which at the moment I see our society is almost like the mouse at the salt post waiting for the door to open and then feed them another Scooby snack.
Yep.
It's starting to happen, and we can see it happening across the world. If you get a chance, team, throw a like in there if you can. And, you know, especially if you wish you're at the beach there. That was Merriweather Beach, for those that don't know, the fantastic coffee, but a really disappointing Eggs Benedict.
Oh, I love Eggs Benedict.
So do I. I love Benedict Arnold. Sometimes you've got to be a trader, especially when you're playing Risk. You know? Punch Buggy, can we get some questions from the team here? Just generally what they think on different things, any subject?
But before you do that, can you just get the book out?
I can.
Because Dark Spartan goes on the 30th of March.
30th of March.
Yeah, I've been...
That's not too long away.
Yeah, I've been holding that in.
30th of March.
Yes, the 30th of March.
The Dark Spartan. 30th of March. And guess what? He's going in also with Lascalz.
Yep.
Lascalz?
Don't know.
You know, I'm not sure. My eyes are bloody lollipops. Have we got any other ones there that are thrown it in?
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
Mike, onto the subject.
Yes.
Mike Scott said, history lesson, Vietnam time. Many Aussies enlisted in the CMF, the Citizens Military Forces.
Yep.
The CMF was technically a military service but could not be deployed as they were home defence.
Yep.
Sounds like Dad's army a bit. Is it like that?
Well, I'd imagine so. Keep the home front going, and that would have been potentially a way of avoiding the national service when that came up. But also remember, no one went to Vietnam against their will. Even those that got with national service still got to volunteer within that. Do any of you guys want to go? If no one goes, we're going to start picking people, but enough people volunteered. Sad thing is, when they came back, a lot of them actually got out that would have made excellent career soldiers and then went on to speak about their experiences for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, thank you, Bill Nutty. seasick cow there?
I just saw that pop up. Finally.
Finally, I'm tired of wondering what if. Thanks for all this support you give everyone, Kaz and Lauren. Oh, thank you.
That's no problem at all, mate, and thank you very much. I'm going to buy a budgerigar on its last 2 days of life with that donation.
So wicked. All right, Reddy has said, I'd rather Dad's Army ex-military members of National Service who already have the experience. Yeah, that's true, but I think that's the point of that National Service, is to give those young people some kind of connection to Australia, some kind of pride, some kind of bond, and also to give them some kind of experience. So we're not seeing, look, I don't know about you, but where I live, demographic, it's not getting any better for the young people. You know, they've got a lot more temptations on the street, a lot more spare time, you know, and not as many local jobs for them to go and get. So I think I think we should have both. I think we should have the Dad's Army of ex-military people and then the National Service. And like we were saying before, we're not talking about putting them in infantry. You know, we're talking about putting them in support.
Hillary Clinton.
Sorry, team. Hillary Clinton's ringing. 2 seconds, guys. I'm just going to see what she's got to say.
Okay.
Hillary, can I ring you back in a minute? You're on. I'm on live at the moment, and so are you.
I just want to say that I'm drunk and I miss 45.
Listen to the growl of her voice now. You know, and she wasn't the first lady, and so do I. 45, miss him, but I've got a feeling, like the Kiwis always said, he'll be big.
He'll be big. I just miss him.
Me too.
I got a really good video. I'll send it to you. Maybe you can share it with the channel.
Thanks, man.
All right, talk to you later.
See you, Cobber. Bye. There you go. Even Hillary Clinton calls up. Geez, her voice has got rough.
Yeah. It's never very smooth.
Look, once military's in your system, and a lot of people don't realise it's not about military. That's not what it's about, team. It's about big adventure. You know, you've only got to get in your first helicopter, get on your first Navy boat, be in your first armoured vehicle, fire the weapons, be around people, drinking with like-minded people who are kicking goals and winning at the same time as you and facing defeats. And it won't be long before you are saved from the goddamn filth of the left. The left is overtaking. They are the squeaky wheel that will bludgeon you for having normal conservative thoughts.
I don't think they're overtaking. I think they're just louder.
Yeah.
You know, hey, here's something from Jack Findlay, and it was something I asked you earlier when we were having a chat about this off stream.
If you call me better, you can call me Al. Did you mean that?
No, different conversation. Jack Findlay said, do you think that the quality of the service members would drop if that were the case? Not that I'm against it, but I wonder if we could retain the best small army in the world title if we had it.
It would be a completely different entity. They wouldn't be working with each other.
Yeah, and we talked about that too, because like we said, it might be good to get them away from bad influences, but if everybody's doing it, those bad influences are going in as well. So it would need a whole new system to be policing it too. So...
Well, already the regular army and the Army Reserve almost never meet.
Yeah.
You know, so when you put national service there, consider that gap year, but there's a definitive end to their tour, okay, with the option to stay on and then go on to become either Army Reservists, which would be the standard, or to come on if they're reporting as well and then slide over into the regular army. You know, so the option for a 40-year career would be there as well.
Yeah, Leo's got a good point. He said, question, do you think national service would have a positive effect on mental health? Do you know,
Yes.
I do.
Yep.
I think it would. I think we would see our youth suicide rate drop. I think we would see a lot of positive benefits come out of it, with people's self-esteem and them feeling confident and able to even just live independently.
Yep. That's what the military gives us. You know, it gives us an identity. So many people have problems because they don't have an identity. They don't know who they are. You know, they were still stuck in the psychology of a child because they got teased at school mercilessly, or by siblings even, or those they grew around. Now they actually have that point where they're taken out of their comfort zone or discomfort zone, remapped, rebooted, given something to be proud of, sharing a space with others, and then being allowed to leave the nest when they can fly. I think it'd be a beautiful thing. It'd curb depression big time.
Yeah, I think it would help. I think it would help also. I think the fact that we've lost a bit of our identity, maybe we just need to redefine ourselves, and maybe we should do something new. Maybe we shouldn't be looking at the models that other people use around the world. Maybe it's time to do something that fits Australia, and we could lead the world in it.
And this is the danger where Australia, everyone gets to vote, and I totally disagree with that. You have to earn the right to vote. And the problem is, if you get enough people that go, that could affect me, therefore I kibosh it even before I've had a chance, like Kaz and broccoli and cucumber and celery and almost everything that's green other than the screen behind me, or the car key that this lass is wearing, God bless her soul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, should we move along?
Absolutely.
Jackson Middleton said, my grandfather was conscripted into Vietnam, turned it into a 20-year career, finished up as a sergeant in the SAS, 100% believe it's a good idea.
Awesome. And I don't believe that anyone that's ever served, that actually, because you know the benefits that come to you, would say it's a bad idea. They might say, I don't want to be the one that trains them. I get that.
Yeah.
But imagine the pride of all of a sudden this year, like when you turn between 18 and 24, because what I didn't read to you is a lot of those 28 countries, they actually allow you to move that forward if you are going to study. If you're going to go to university, they might go, okay, that's fantastic for you. It's fantastic for the country. So when you're 24, we're going to waive some of your HECS debt or make your education free. That would be a great incentive.
Yep.
And then from there, what we're going to do is then put you in a uniform that doesn't fit, smells like crutch rot, or mine it does anyway. And from there, that gives you the foundation to 99% of people that aren't in the military have probably never pushed themselves to actually what physical failure is, or been around people that absolutely accept them, warts and all, for their personality, but understand how important they still are to the team. It is great to look after those people that you don't like when you're looking back and saying, yep, I was professional enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That is the test of a professional, isn't it? If you can leave your own feelings out of things. Michael Stott said, my father did national service in 1951. He then joined the regular army straight after his time was done and stayed in until 83. He did Korea, Vietnam and PNG to train their troops.
That's awesome. But did he do Tully?
Maybe he did.
Stoddy comes from good stock. He does.
Yeah. Is our Stoddy. Let me see what else people have to say. Oh, hang on. Here's an enlistment, Dave.
Okay, excellent.
Red Ninja.
We've got all sorts of colours.
I know, we've got all sorts of coloured ninjas. We've nearly got the whole rainbow.
We've got the whole bag.
Yeah. G'day, Kaz. I got my enlistment day on the 15th of March.
The Ides of March is the 15th of March, isn't it?
Yep.
You will be assassinated.
Yeah,
do you understand?
Because the rest of his question is, what is your best tip when going to Kapuka? Beware the Ides of March. That's my tip. That's
right. Okay, Ninja, well, I can tell you join at a great time because 16 platoon, we'll call it 16 platoon legal age. You've got Skinner, mate. You've got Jacob. You've got Peter. You've got Corey. You've got Reese. You've got Red Ninja. You've probably heard of him. It's you. And you're all going in at the same time as, again, don't mind the pun, 2 Navy, Lucas Ship. I still can't get my head around that one. Okay, and the guy that's going to be living on farts for rations, JJ the Submariner. Fantastic. Fantastico.
There you go. Stickman's not keen on the idea of national service. He thinks that why force people in Australia to join, then only train. He said they'll hate it like the Koreans and Europeans.
Don't care. Don't care.
Yeah.
You got to put something back on the table. You don't get to have people die for your country and then say, no, I'm not going to do that. The whole point is most people won't like it until they do it, and then they're going to want to stay. You know, it's, you know, guys, you know, and then there's this is an interesting one for you, Stick. I absolutely understand people saying that they don't want to do whatever. Okay, but we have to come up with solutions, and solutions are always going to have, like puppy videos, a certain amount of thumbs down. I get it.
Yeah.
But if you can ask someone, even if Australia's borders were in danger, not someone else's, not like Mali. I don't agree with that UN trip going to Mali. All it's going to end up with is more dead United Nations soldiers coming from England, etc. They're about to go on it. Wouldn't be surprised if Australia gets dragged into that one too. So is Canada. That's in Northern Africa. You know, but what was I getting at? If Australia's borders were in danger and someone wouldn't put on a uniform, then maybe they should go to jail. If you won't even protect that, because let's not look at this at the big scale. Look at this at small scale. Would you protect your own family? And if the answer is no, then you probably belong on the Titanic's lifeboats, like we said in the video before. There has to be a point where you go, this is worth fighting for. If we love our country, you have to fight for it. If you don't love it, find somewhere else to be.
Yep.
But there is a moral standpoint where you must stand up. You know, what is the red line for you? You go, okay, I don't want to, but I'm not going to allow this to happen. I'm not going to let the scream in the night happen.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
Man wanted me to read you the first part of
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
thing. He said, no, it sucks. It doesn't help people and only gives a minor security increase. I don't even think it's about the security increase for me. I think it would be about actually helping the inside of Australia, helping domestic.
Absolutely. It's saving generations. It's not
That's
making them combat soldiers. That's not what it's about.
Yeah. No, I think it would be about breaking that multi-generational welfare cycle and giving people a community and giving them somewhere to belong and giving them a shared history.
Yeah. Well, let's ask Stick, mate, what would you suggest instead? That we keep letting the spiral go down? That feeling of loneliness, the removal of shame from society, which you have to have shame in society. If you treat yourself like a tip, you should be ashamed.
Yeah, it's not at all about like increasing security. That's not even why we were talking about it.
No, not at all.
Australia's benefit for the people, for the young people, get them out of the cycles they're stuck in, give them some responsibility, give them some skills. Good night, Mr. Patterson.
See you later, Mr. P.
Queen watching television.
You look at the work ethic of Australia in the 20s, 30s, 40s, it was insane. Every single person basically had a job that wasn't a homemaker. And from there, they wore collared shirts and breeches while they were working on the railway. You know, the effort was always there. The expectation that you are the best version of you, despite the fact you might be an alcoholic, you might be a bar fighter, you might have done a lot of things that, you know, that made a mess of yourself. But that was all formed by living in and having to be resilient in very hard times.
And if you were a ratbag, you felt ashamed.
Yep.
And you know, you knew.
Well, that was when a policeman could give you a good smack in the mouth. And what people go, oh, well, I wouldn't let a cop do that. You go, well, cops were there by size. There was no quota. Back in then, the quota was 6'2", I believe it was, brick shit house, can fight.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like cops to be able to do that though now. I think that time's done. You know, they can individually get a little bit power hungry.
Absolutely can, but especially this generation that lives in the no-shame generation where you can potentially put on a badge, put on a uniform, and then from there, you know, I had this discussion with my mate who's a cop the other day, and I said the difference between a soldier and a cop, especially in Australia, or a paramedic, fireman, etc., is you can walk up to a fireman or a soldier or a paramedic or any uniform wearing individual in Australia and go up there and go, mate, I don't really like the way you're acting and I don't like the way you're representing yourself in that uniform. You know, that's not what I'd expect, and it's not what my kids need to see either. But if you went over to a police officer, if he was doing something incorrect, procedurally wise, and you went over and said, mate, that's enough, blah, 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 what's ultimately going to happen is you're going to end up with some sort of debate that ends up with you now with a criminal conviction, with you face down on the road in that I will not lose face in this matter.
Exactly. I just don't think we can go. And this is the thing: we take things from the past. We don't have to take everything.
No, that's right.
Take things that worked and we bring them into the now with the technology and that we have now, so we can bring concepts that maybe didn't work so good then, but maybe now's the time. Maybe they'll work well now.
Yeah, but we have to do something before we need it. That's a perspective. And you know what? There is a lot of people out there you'd be saving their lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there'd be so many people that have nothing, no way of getting out of their niche. And this would be a way that we get Alan. Sorry if you're out there, Alan. And we drag him from that side of the tracks onto the good side and give him a solution rather than just keep saying it's not someone's fault, it's the system. Stop blaming the system. Let the system do something. Enable, pay people for a hard day's work. Give them grooming standards. None of that loser haircut that people have, that skullet, whatever it is. HR department should say, leave as soon as you turn up, unless you go for the military, and then I want you to turn up with a skullet. So going, no one needs a haircut more than that guy. Let him in.
I don't even care about people's haircuts that much, really. Although I wouldn't be
only that haircut. That haircut.
with a skullet. Stickman makes a good point. He said, "What if we bring cops back to the community and still keep the law and order role? I bet canning the quotas would clean it up. I bet that would help."
I don't understand it. Cops back to the community, what do you mean?
Like getting them doing more community work as opposed to raising revenue and things like that.
Absolutely. Stick, you're right on board, mate. You're right on board. I would love to see that more police not in cars. Walking the actual beat. Where schools are, where a cop walks past and can kick a football over into the fence and have a speak over the fence to the kids. How you going, guys?
Yeah.
So because crime drops as soon as, and this is why soldiers do it, we operate and we contaminate an area of operations so that the bad guy, who's opportunistic, just like thieves and scumbags are, tend to go, there's no point. That house has a camera. That point has a German Shepherd. So they leave it alone. And if cops were less in cars, we'd achieve that.
Yeah, on the actual beat. But here's a question then for you from me.
Absolutely.
What do we do with the rat bags? Do they go to national service? Do we trust them in our ADF? What do we do with them?
Well,
because at the moment, if you've got those criminal convictions, it can really get in the way of your joining up. So what do we do with them?
Well, it really comes down to that individual, doesn't it? Where they say to them, mate, where you can say to them, this is your last chance, bro. You're going to the big house. But if you can do this, that what it might do is clean some of their slate. What it might do is go, you are going there now, but you have no safety net. This is your last hope.
Yeah, or maybe they don't have the option of doing the military thing. Maybe they have the option of working on some farms or something.
Maybe.
Doing the conscientious objectors. So they go do that kind of work, but not as trusted.
Yep.
Go, clean out some stables or, do some harvesting or something instead.
They're probably there because they harvested.
Yeah, well, it was to, good use for the community.
Okay, is that train? Choo choo. Half my bloody school has a mullet.
Look, let them. It's fine.
As long as they barn dance too, it's acceptable.
Come on, we lived through the 80s. There's a lot of mullet.
I was not allowed to have an inappropriate hairstyle, and my father would have cut it with a razor. Train. I haven't seen your name on here. Have you subscribed yet? If you haven't, tick subscribe and watch your name come up on the screen right now in 3, 2, 1.
From way back, but hasn't been around for a while.
Well, Train, you can be a locomotive, but what you need is national service. Now, this is a really hard question to pitch as well to this channel, because predominantly most people here are either want to join the police force, want to join the Army, Air Force or Navy, and are very service-orientated, tribal creatures. So I get that.
Well, how about then for those people that want to volunteer before their national service, they would actually maybe get more of a pick. maybe there would be more roles open to them and only have certain support roles open for the national service.
Yeah, and there'd be a whole panel of people that have served, you know, that would be saying, this is what you need to do, this is what would be a deal breaker, but keep the politics out of it, keep the feminists out of it, keep the identity politics groups out of it, because that's the whole thing about this, is to save you from that curse, you know, feel a victim mentality. The whole point of this is now you are someone. You have a team. You have a family in the absence of having a family on the outside that is actually going to be there to get you through those hard times. You know, and from there, that's where resilience builds up. That's where a sense of character and achievement occurs. And as people achieve, you very rarely see them with identity politics.
Yep. No, Michael Stotts made a good point. He said, not a real stat, just an example. 95% of us are law-abiding. 5% are doing bad. Cops look out for that 5% while walking around the 95%. It's hard for them to switch off when they're off duty. It is hard for them to switch off. And also, we have to remember they're humans. They have their own prejudices, each one of them. They have their own hang-ups. You know, they have their own personality issues. You know, they are just humans. They aren't robots. So there is going to be a percentage within them of the cops. There'll be that 5% who are doing bad.
And every single day, they are surrounded by people who are thumbs down guys and gals. So every time you think, oh, that cop looks a bit negative, wonder how many times has someone looked at him that day, had a go at him that day, and then eventually, if a German Shepherd bites you when you're 4, you're going to hate German Shepherds the rest of your life. If you're the cop, you're going to have subsets of that continually trend in a negative fashion that makes you go, well, I don't like those guys. You know, and that doesn't mean you have to give them a title. You know, they've earned that dislike from a custodian.
Here's a cease now from Jack MacArthur.
Jick is back.
People under 25 charged with minor crimes should get a second chance to join, to better themselves instead of living their whole lives labelled as crims. Yeah, I think I agree when it's not a violent crime or it's not something serious. Yeah, I think so too. And I think they can at the moment. So if those same rules applied, that same selection process applied, but I wouldn't want those who wouldn't make the selection process to just get off the hook while everyone else is doing stuff.
That's a great point.
Have to go and do some kind of service to Australia.
And this is why we have this discussion now. So each point comes up, gets thrown around, and you change our minds as well on some points. We go, never thought of that. This is called wargaming. 2 seconds, Lauren. Bam.
Yep.
That's it. Thank you very much, the General of the Pacific. Not too cow. Thank you very much, mate.
Roger Ramjet says, Lauren, I reckon the corporals, sergeants and other training staff wouldn't take any crap from rat bags. Yeah, that's not actually my point. My point is when the corporals and sergeants and other training staff aren't around and they're being trusted with innocence.
Yep.
That is my concern. There's a lot of responsibility and temptation in service. And you have to be able to have duty. You have to be able to do that duty.
And this is why when we've got older soldiers that go to Kapooka, whether that be for Army Reserve or for regular Army, you know, the expectation from an instructor is that you will go a little bit lighter on them if they're not as fit as they used to be per se. You know, this is in Group PT. But the expectation is when you're not around, when the Lords of the Fly is happening between the recruits, that these guys are the social conscience that will step in and say, don't be a dickhead. You know, everyone. And they will be that unqualified, unpaid for leader amongst others.
Absolutely. Let me just clarify something. Kaz and I both love the police, okay? But let's not have a Pollyanna view of this. They are people. They do make mistakes. They are just like you and me. They do sometimes get emotional. They sometimes, and God, I wouldn't want to face what they face every day. I imagine their rate of PTSD is off the scale. But a lot of people mistakenly think that the police has a community or a brotherhood like the army
They
does.
don't.
And it doesn't. They're practically subcontractors. And they're left out there on their own. They don't have a 5-year career plan. So I think maybe if the police system changed to give them more support, we might actually see less of the stress coming out in bad policing. But let's not fool ourselves that everybody who is a cop is great. But we love the cops. I actually don't think I'd be alive if it wasn't for Australia's police. So don't get us wrong. Absolutely love them. But we are realists, and they are people too.
Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely. I've worked with police my entire career, on or off, and when I'm on the street in bloody in Flinders Street, they've got the better of me a couple of times too. I forget what I was going to say, but everyone knows that my thing is that I don't believe in state police. I believe in a kapuka for police, where they come from everywhere, come down here, and then can change their stripes by going, I wouldn't mind going to Western Australia. Because then you'd make policing the great adventure domestically, and I think that would be fucking excellent.
I'm not saying make it like the army, where
No.
I'm more for what Stickman said, and make it more community orientated, where they're actually part of the community. You know, I'm much more for that. Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
I saw something down here from the mosquito, just as the mosquito was on the screen.
Mosquito. Had a 46-year-old bloke in my platoon at Pookie, absolute weapon at PT, and stopped a lot of the stupid shit arguments escalating. That's true. It's important for young people to be around older people.
And that was definitely him getting his dream career.
Yeah.
You know, that you saw it in place. He didn't want anything to affect his career, and that's why he turned up mentally, physically prepared, but was still able to give enough of his personality and be able to step back a bit and still allow you to have potentially the immaturity that comes with youth, which is also a weapon in its own way for exuberance and the energy you bring to the mission, but he also stopped you from fighting each other in a fatherly role. And that's a fantastic thing, and I fully subscribe that, just like the cartoon lady in the background here.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to disagree with you a little bit, Dean Irwin. He's said he's an ex-con, done 5 years maximum security. Cops are great people and I had no hate towards them.
Yep.
Sure, some shouldn't be here, but as a whole, they're all good. Then he said, I think the main factor for joining should be applicants' desire and character. You can judge innocent people when judging their past. But look, the truth is that the best predicator of future behaviour is past behaviour.
Especially if it's a trend.
Exactly. And if a pattern is forming in someone's behaviour, you can spot all kinds of things like their mental health, things like that, their generational problems, you know, all sorts of things, attitudes, how they feel about things, and you can make a pretty educated guess at how they might act. So it's not even about their desire. To be honest with you, if I was running recruiting, the person's desire wouldn't really even come into it that much. Of course, if someone's passionate about it, they're going to do the work to be there. But the desire, no one's owed anything. You're not owed to get what you want. And your desire shouldn't come into it. If you want to be there, you have to make yourself the best possible candidate.
Yep, and if people turn up with they're you know, I had a conversation with someone in the comments and they didn't agree with me about something about Kapuka, you can't fail. And they said, but we had 8 people fail for this, and that's their version of the story, which was sort of typical of all platoons. About, 10 people get back squatted. But he absolutely didn't even realise he was reinforcing exactly what I said, that people turned up either weak, unprepared or uncommitted in what supposedly was their volunteer dream career. Now, they've already done the psychology, they've done the academic, they've done the medical, and they've done the physical, and still said, I can't do this at some period during that 12 to 13 weeks. You're going, that's called quitting. That's what it is. So that means they could have passed, but it was their character that stopped them from doing it. And that's fine, because you're not going to know until you try. But I'll tell you something. Humanity devolves when we go on operations. You will see the worst of characters. If you have someone that has, what would you call it, chinks in the armour, and then we go overseas and we're there for a prolonged period of time, cruelty can come out. What there can be is
everything.
Integrity. It can become vice. It can become temper. It can become, you name it. You know, I've seen, there was times in Unimir too, in our Central African deployment in particular, where subsets of the actual contingent of Unimir 2, which was majority, 2/3 was non-arms corps. You know, but the arms corps were all infantry, and we weren't allowed to drink. But when we were allowed to, that was once every 3 weeks or something. So that meant it treated people like the prohibition in Australia, and that where you were allowed to drink for 1 hour only. So people abuse it. But when you've got people all the time that outrank you, talking smack at a lowest, and their job ability was lower than yours, but they're using their rank as well as their inebriation while breaking the laws, while having unbridled sex, you know, and violence that was occurring there. I'm very, very surprised that people weren't murdered on that trip, and that was a contingent of 300.
And look, here, Dino, and saying people can always change, though. Yes, absolutely they can. I've seen it myself. But this is where the risk manager in me comes out. Is it worth Australia risking an international incident and risking the mission of helping people for the sake of giving someone a second chance? And I don't think it's worth the risk myself. If someone has committed a very violent crime and we're putting them in a very stressful situation, people don't do violent crimes without some sort of stressors or some sort of mental health issues anyway. And we're putting them in a position where they are alone, they have to hold up their integrity themselves, and that they could possibly, you know, do some sort of crime or something that would actually look really, really bad on Australia. Is it worth the risk when it comes to the recruiting process? I don't think it is. I think sometimes in life, sad fact, your decisions, even made when young, can restrict you for the rest of your life. And it might just be a case of risk management. I'm not going to allow someone who has been convicted of paedophilia to sit down and play with my children. They may have changed, but I'm not going to risk that.
It's definitely a what do you call it? Something that can be unwrapped. I've been around rough people all my life. You know, I have, and I've seen the military do exceptional things for those people to bridle that in, and it's fantastic. But I'm telling you, the military, you know, you don't want to be a civilian in Townsville, per se. It might be a lot different now, but it wasn't that long ago that you've got roving bands of hundreds of infantry soldiers. It's not the place where if you didn't know what you were walking into, you didn't realise that, you know, 140 people might know each other in that one club. You know, and if you've got someone with a personality disorder who feels like they're a little bit picked on, maybe they want to win the respect of the group, and then from there they might try to take that out on other people outside their agency, so to speak. And I don't condone that at all. But alcohol and stress brings out the worst in people. As far as people getting another crack at the cherry, you know, there's certain people that should never be forgiven for their crimes, ever. You know, if you take the life of someone deliberately, there should be no second chances.
You're actually not entitled to anything. If you make a mistake in life, a serious mistake, like, you can blame your bad childhood all you like, but the truth is we've all been through some crap. and we still all get a choice. And that is part of changing when you've made a serious mistake, is being able to accept, wow, I've really messed up some things, and I may not have as many options as I used to in life.
My only caveat to that is what scares me. When I look back at my life, is that, and Dino would probably be able to explain this because we've got the same name. The difference between someone in prison and someone who's not and never has been and doesn't have a criminal record can sometimes simply come down to where you're caught. Now, there is moments of my life that I've done things that I'm not proud of, but I'm lucky that I didn't cross a line anywhere where I probably would have ended up in jail anyway. But there was definitely areas where I would have been in deep shit that would have affected me having a career at all in the military. With that out the way, there is people where a moment's notice, they can use their way of dealing with things. Their survival mechanism can kick in when you're young, even representing or protecting someone, and then all of a sudden you've started sliding doors where all of your opportunities in life disappear, and that's sad.
And there's so many ways to serve Australia.
Absolutely.
You just have to be this or nothing, this or infantry, or I can't help Australia. That's not true. You can give back to Australia in a million different ways, and if you have disqualified yourself somehow, from doing one thing, you find a different way to serve if your heart is really in the serving.
I've seen a lot of people get saved by the military, who I reckon would have, if in any other time. One of the things we often say, Lauren, is there is so many people that should have been born 400 years ago. Their conduct now would have absolutely been the norm back then, but now it feels like we are in a game of what's that called? Mine Hunter?
Yeah, exactly.
Where even when you're a nice person, even when you work, even when you love your family and you contribute, you feel like you're one stamp away from being goddamned for the rest of your career. And we've got to be a lot more lenient on some things.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll get off this subject in a minute. And saying, not for me, it's the core or nothing in my heart. Well, that's,
okay.
I'm not trying to be rude, but that sounds a little like entitlement. If you don't make it, do you have another plan? Because if you don't make it, what are you going to do? Maybe it might be in your heart, but is it in Australia's best interest? And look, there's so many good candidates who don't even get chosen. You're going to have to. I hope you do make it, but if you don't, you're going to have to find a way to be of service to Australia.
The military is a lot like a professional sportsman. It's very rarely you will get to play the game for the length of period that you want to play for. Something will happen, and it will be that last tackle in that set of six. It will be that crazy Monday night that went overboard and no one vouched for you. There's always something around the corner that can just end a career that quickly. What's his name? Point Break, quarterback punk. Don't hurt his dog. Anyway.
Yeah. Do you bring your little Miss
Look,
Adorable?
I do, but her mum doesn't like her being
Fair
speaking
enough.
online. I went, okay.
I understand that.
She had a taco tonight. That's great. I love the Mexican food. Guys and gals, it's awesome to see that you are so passionate about the subject, because it affects everyone. But what I can't see in a summary to this topic, I can't see a single negativity to this point. And the only person that I could see that would have any negative connotations of this would be the people that are at the age where they will be the first ones to do it. Because everyone pretty much talks about this country needs an older drinking age. This country needs, for there to be a national service. It is a redeeming conversation I have all the time about getting society back onto its skates and having some sort of focus, identity that they can hang on to. Because at the moment, the role models are really fucking poor. Yeah, really poor.
True. That's absolutely true. And I'm sure if like even Dean Irwin had a chance to enlist earlier, his path could have been diverted from, getting himself into trouble and making those sort of decisions. So I totally get it. It's sad. And, probably got a lot of wisdom there that could be shared with younger people to stop them making the same mistake.
Yeah.
But like the thumbnail said, what if it sucks? What if I don't get in? What if it's like this? What if it's like that? And the truth is, you have to think about that stuff.
Yeah. The military is just something that will test you in a non-political way like no other career. The army will test you like the RAF never could. The closest thing to military service in the army is Navy, because that is isolated. You are on a fighting ship. If that ship goes down, every single person goes with it or faces the fins in the ocean, the ones that John West rejects.
Yeah,
in the military, if a call sign gets stuck in a shit fight, don't believe the movies where helicopters come in and get you out. They don't. What happens is you have to be able to secure a location, and if you don't do your job properly, I've got a video that shows exactly this, that I need to do a reaction video on. You'll get cut up piecemeal and you'll all go down. In the Air Force, there's no repercussion at all. The pilot, if he gets shot down, he becomes a ramp ceremony, but everyone else is going to be, okay, did you hear what happened? This guy never came back.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
And that's a beautiful thing in itself.
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely is. But the dog in the fight is definitely more serious the closer you are to the pointing end, Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good conversation, and I think it's important that we, that we talk about it. And in fact, it's one of those things that probably the heart of the conversation, the quicker we better have it, really.
Well, it's true, because everyone that's been here tonight will be one step ahead of when the video comes out tomorrow or Sunday, and you've actually had time to go, okay, I've actually thought on that, and I've got some really, really good points that I'd like to put up, because no doubt it's going to get more thumbs down than a hitchhiker who knows who Ivan Milat is.
Yeah, probably, and some of those folk won't even look at it the whole way through.
That's true. I'll make sure it's a fairly quick one. It'll be stated points. Would you or would you not be for national service? Not so much conscription, which we can. Conscription can happen like that if we need it. Never think it's your choice.
It's very important to actually have that if we are ever in great danger.
Well, you know what happened in France, don't you?
What happened in France?
In WW1. They basically said, every single person, put down whatever you've got in your hands now, including a baby. You're now wearing a uniform or working in munitions.
Yeah.
You are in the fight, and there is no conscientious, disagreement with serving. You're either dead or you're serving.
Yeah,
and at one stage, they were losing 40,000 people a day.
Yep.
And that was because their borders was in direct jeopardy, and they ultimately lost their country. So don't think that, it's not possible.
Yeah, it could happen, that's right. And, like we've said, that we've lived in a time of really great peace.
We have.
For a long, long time, but that could change. Look at history, empires rise and fall.
Hey, there's Iron Wolf's dad.
Iron Wolf's dad, Dave Penson's here too.
He is.
Buckle yourself.
Dave Penson's in Nam. That's where he is.
It's not babysitting if it's your child. It's called parenting.
Mate, What was I going to say? One of the things I saw with military service, and I'm not talking about regular army here, what I'm talking about is national service, was in Israel. The one thing I noticed when you went into Israel, and that is a place where there's real danger, there was attacks in Israel while I was there, is the fact that instead of being nervous, they weren't. The people were beautifully calm. They spoke to each other in a way that was fantastic. They were very warm. They were all carrying their rifles on their backs, their M4s, in McDonald's, walking around, etc. That's why my argument against guns sometimes. You don't see them all, attacking each other. It doesn't happen. But those people were absolutely calm in the face of danger that is ever present because they actually feel confident in their front tyre as they're going around the corners. And I really, really liked it. There was a positivity to the young people, a bounce in their step that I really, really appreciated and enjoyed. And a lot of them had chosen to be cultural service instead of military service. So you'd see them in the cultural areas doing volunteer work.
That's important because otherwise, what are we fighting for?
It's true. Andrew, do you ever think the world will be truly peaceful? I think it is as close to being absolute peace as it can be, except in environments where it cannot be peaceful. And this is why I want to bring you back to Mali, okay, in Northern Africa. Now, the fact that the Brits are getting ready to go back in there, Canadians are getting ready to go back in there, I wouldn't be surprised if Australia gets asked to go to somewhere like that. You can't win. There is so many different tribes that this has been going on for thousands of years. Unless you go in there, as a credible military force with absolutely the sharpest teeth possible, where you prosecute the leadership of said bandits, groups, threat force, you need to go after them, and every single time there's a boss, you get rid of him. And then next time he steps up, you get rid of him. And you keep working down the chain and you do not let him off the leash.
Yeah.
And then when you gain momentum, you absolutely crush them, all of them. People say, oh, I can't pallet that. You go, well, that's good because you're not doing it. But if you want, you should never leave your country if you can't win. If there's no chance of winning, don't leave.
Yeah. Phoenix Knight has an interesting point. He said, hey, Kaz, if a person was deemed medically unfit for voluntary service, wouldn't they be disqualified from conscription?
Well, there is parameters, but what I'm saying is you don't get to make that. That would happen. The military people would be, okay, these people won't be able to make it because they've got this, or that. There's a massive difference between enlisting in the regular army, conscription, to actually get uniformed up, mobilised and deployed, for domestic or threats abroad, to being national service and maybe barely touching a weapon system and being put into a non-arms role, just like the ladies with the war effort worked in factories. The ladies worked in either the cultural side of things or worked in a way where they assisted in hospitals. There was, depending on what country you went to, you can always do something. And we don't want someone to miss out because imagine that, we'll say Brady Carr. Imagine if Brady was in a position where he was going, not only would have I joined, because I've got this, I couldn't, but now you're saying conscription's here and I can't do it. You're saying that national service here and I can't do it. What have you got for me? There has to be something where you can make people not feel left out so they can contribute in another way so that everyone feels like they've got a foot in the game, that they own some shares in the company. And when you do that, people appreciate it. If you give someone a car for free, it's going to have Macca's packets all through it. Okay, that's my car anyway.
Anyone with kids' car.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. You could talk about this subject. It could go in 100 different directions.
It's a really good conversation because you and I were even talking about what about if someone was disabled and that, what do we do with that? We sort of war gamed a little bit all the eventualities, or as many as we could think of. So it's going to be an interesting video.
Yeah. Yep. It needs to be short so it still has punch, so that the people that probably need to see it the most, that need to have that conversation or feel like, holy shit, could they do that to us? I don't know how anyone could see it a fate worse than death. You know, you're grabbing people, you're going to teach them about nutrition a little bit, you're going to get some marbling off them, you're going to give them new friends that are away from the toxicity of the group they're currently in, you're going to break some bad habits, you're going to dry them out if they're alcoholics or drug addicts.
Yeah.
And then from there, give them the opportunity to go, you know what, I'm a different person now that I've had that shower. You know, maybe I don't want to go back there.
Well, there was the gentleman who did the study with rats and addiction,
Yep.
and found that it was when they were able to be in a community that they changed,
Yep.
that they got better. And people are the same. If they have a community and that, we can change and heal from almost anything.
Yeah, they stopped licking the drug that they'd actually put there that was slow release.
Because they had the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very interesting study. It was.
If you got knocked back for professional service, I would outright refuse to be conscripted. Okay, Andy, let me explain this one to you. Okay, there are some people that aren't made up for the first draft that went to WW1 or WW2. There was people that couldn't go in because of height. There was people that couldn't go in for because they couldn't ride a horse, but all they wanted to do is be in the light horse because you didn't have to walk anywhere. You got extra pay. You got Chevelle's feather in your cap, you know, and the girls loved you. You know, but there's always going to be different tiers of the stream where you can actually come in. And the whole point about conscription is that means you don't have a choice.
Yeah, look, while we're answering a question, more than one moderator has actually asked Andrew how old they are, because sometimes the questions are a bit strange. And he's saying, if I'm not good enough to serve in the best of times, why on earth would I be good enough in the worst of times? Well, that's like a bit of a silky attitude, really, to be honest with you. It's a case of you should be, oh, great, finally I can do it, as opposed to, well, you can get stuffed, you know. It's a bit strange, because at the worst of times, we would have to lower a standard because it's a desperate measure.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realise when we go overseas to the United Nations that Australia's the highest paid army to rent. So when we go overseas, quite often we're surrounded by some very substandard soldiers that are also wearing the blue helmet, you know, and now you realise why they can never get a job done. Because it's a token effort. The United Nations needs to be replaced with a very professional, hard-hitting, top tier, including special forces element that goes in there and gets the job done, so people are actually shit scared of the teeth-bearing side of the UN that is also able to be part of signatories that say we need help from tier 1 agency militaries, Western armies, that can come in at a moment's notice, like a quick reaction force, and say we need you for 1 month. They come in, put out the spot fires, and then we go back to the United Nations side of things. The problem with the United Nations is we normally go in flat-footed. We go in there with the concept we're going there to help. If you go there to help, then you will be persecuted and taken advantage of by everyone that is opportunistic, you know, or the fact that your rules of engagement have you skating in between capability and reputation and force preservation. Once they know that, you're in real trouble. Real trouble.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's exactly right.
Hey, James, I can't read your last name. Sorry, mate.
James Buntain said, I finally made a live stream. Welcome.
It sounds like a Thailand death march. Buntain.
And the V8 legend is here. Hey, team, he says hello.
How's those fuel emissions going, mate? Should be ashamed. Unless you're talking about that tomato juice V8.
What?
Tomato juice V8. You know those little bottles of tomato juice?
Okay. I was really confused there for a minute.
Look, it always looks like a bottle of bleeding nose.
It's yum, though.
Kaz, PK is saying, my favourite chewy, by the way, is saying that AK, Chinese-built assault weapon, machine,
Yeah.
Of course, Kaz, AK is on a course and going well in Victoria. Fantastic.
Great. That's so good. Oh, I remember the days when AK was in here.
Yeah. Brrr. Look at that in the background. When I look up and I just see that disgusting, what do you call it, claustrophobic video, it makes me want to just jump off now and make 5 more videos on reactions to claustrophobia because...
I love your reaction videos. There's a yellow cow from the Perfect Banjo.
Oh, sorry. I thought Lauren was off on a trip.
No.
Kaz, I'm about to head off into DevOps. Any tips? I've got tips for you. DevOps, I'm telling you what, team, it sucks. It is like a WW2 sailor service and lass. Thank you very much. Notsu cow. What happens, I want to quickly talk about this for you, team, because this is something you need to know if you're going to go for infantry. Defensive operations is part of a fighting patrol that we go on. The actual defensive operations means you are there to stay. Remember 300? To hold ground? That's what this is about. This is about going to a location, at least platoon level, righto? And then from there what happens is they spit lock pits, which means the platoon commander will say, this is where my guns are, okay? So he can triangulate the fire from those using the theory of machine gun fire with the platoon sergeants assisting him. And from there what will occur is they will have a grid on the ground that is made for holding ground. It's meant to be one platoon as part of a company, whatever, so you'll have flanking units, but you don't always get to do that, especially at the School of Infantry. And then there'll be an additional standing patrol that goes out in front of you that are meant to basically stay there until they die.
Right.
To give time for retrograde operations for the call sign to get back.
Yep.
Why do we dig? The reason why we dig, and you've normally got 72 hours planning time, is so that if indirect or armoured vehicles show up on the horizon, okay, then what occurs is you're not leaving. You're staying there below ground. People are going to get whacked. You don't get to choose. It's getting too dangerous. We need to get out of here. Nope. I'm sorry, mate. Your platoon, okay, is worth the squeeze. You'll be staying there, and we'll make sure we write nice letters about your lives later and maybe sing songs around a campfire. You don't get to choose to go, even if your call sign's getting wiped out. You have to stay there because you are giving more time to another call sign within the strategy that has to get out of there. So when you turn up there, and the ground is always sucks where we go to, you won't have picks and shovels. You'll have an entrenching tool, which is 30 centimetres long, folded, okay? 50 centimetres, folded. And then from there, what'll occur is you have to be able to dig down and make a shell scrape. Once you have the shell scrape, then you'll put a fighting bay on. The fighting bay will be around 175 centimetres deep. You will make sleeping bays. From there, you'll be filling those in and you'll be sleeping under the ground. You know, it's beautiful and warm in winter. It sucks. You feel like you've got the black lung. But your hands will feel like, pardon me, like you've built half the wall of China. It never ends. And the first 24 hours, you don't have a sleep. What you need to do, this is how, sorry, I'm not trying to let you down here, Perfect Banjo, but what you need to do is have a talk before you go there with all your guys and go, we're going to get on each other's nerves. Put a competition out there. Okay, the last pit owes maybe 2 cartons, okay, or 3 cartons to the rest of the section. Because what that means is you've now made a game out of it, and there's always 2 people at least in a pit. You need to have, it's too late for you maybe, you need to have a little umbrella. If you can get one from the shops, the ones like that, telescopic ones that pop out, okay, pop that up. Then basically what that can happen is that can be on your packs to make them waterproof, or it allows you to put that over there in a hoochie to come over it where you've got to write notes for orders, etc. Okay, take a salami, don't use it like someone from artillery or navy for the cold nights without taking a bite, if you know what I mean.
Come on now.
But you sneak some lollies or something, I prefer them called candy, free candy, you know, and to give yourself a little bit of morale. The food you're going to be eating is not ration packs. You need to be eating noodles if you can. because then you can cook for two. And this is the big one. This is the big one, team. I've instructed this for goddamn years and seen it done horribly too many times. You need to be able to say to your mate, just say it's the perfect banjo and Jay Hayes, West Side, not cerebral palsy. Okay, you guys are pit mates. What happens is you're going to say to the perfect banjo, okay, mate, you're going to start to dig out now. You don't put two people digging in the pit at once. You're going to dig as hard and fast as you can for 5 minutes. And then what happens is then I'm going to come in and I'm going to get the spoil out and put it in a neat pile, keeping it low. The spoil is what comes out of the pit. Okay? Then what is going to occur is you're going to do that a few times in a row, right? And then you're going to change over. But when you're not digging, then what you need to do is learn how to sleep when you don't need to sleep, because you may not sleep for the first 36 hours. So whenever you can, just put your head down. That's not being irresponsible. That is not being insecure, because there will be guns getting manned all the time. There's going to be people, once it's up there, having the standing patrol, which is a fighting patrol within itself, which will normally be 400 to 800 metres outside small arms range, T-Rex. Okay, and they'll be out to the front, and that will be security as well. Not only will you be digging, not only will you be doing wiring, not only will you be doing obstacle creation and engagement area development, but you'll be doing patrols. And then you'll be going out when you think your pit's going pretty well, and then you'll be going out and then you'll be digging in the standing patrol and rotating through there. At the end of the day, team, you will be so knackered and you'll be so sore, and that this will be something you will remember for the rest of your life. Everyone that's been to the School of Infantry, everyone that's ever done defence by hand with entrenching tools remembers this forever. And you're going to remember it forever, Banjo.
Okay, Ash Hundal has said, "Hi Kaz, I've been listening to your channel and been preparing for the assessment. Tried for procurement off with RAF.
Yep.
The officer knocked me from OSB, suggested that I don't have enough management experience. What would you recommend to getting people leader experience?"
I'd be going, that's why I came to you, mate. I really don't like, it feels like they've told you something because they don't want to tell you the truth. That's what it comes across to me. That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. Because they're looking for people at a younger age procurement. That's why we say you got to go in with three choices, man. You got to go in with three choices. Maybe you're going to be an Aggie. Maybe you come over to the army and say their loss.
Yeah.
And come over and be a Q-store or a storeman or a truck driver. Heavy vehicle, transport driver. Get all your tickets. Work with fuel, bulk fuel, like one of our Tom of the Jungle. There's going to have so many tickets with HazChem, working with aviation fuels, all that sort of stuff. He's going to be on the massive money when he gets out. He'll probably lose his hair too from the fumes, but mate, have three choices. Go back with the other choices, or jump on Patreon and give me a call and let's try and skin this cat together.
29, he thinks it probably might be his age, I think. But Stickman makes a good point. Don't they want people that are trainable? Look, sometimes, again, it comes down to people. Maybe that guy was just a bit of an arse-hat.
Honestly, Stick, you're right, mate. I don't like the way our recruiting works. I don't believe that someone that's never served has a right to tell you anything in the recruiting process, unless they're the doctor or whatever, so to speak. But I don't believe in someone from RAF should be rejecting someone who's going for a role in army. They shouldn't be talking to you. It should be a soldier. You deserve that. If you're going to Air Force, it should be someone at Air Force that's talking to you, because that's what you deserve. You're a volunteer and you should be treated with respect that way. And there should be a definitive legal requirement that when you go to enlist in the Air Force, Army or Navy, that there is a time scale there that it cannot go out of. Okay?
Yep.
U session, assessment session, PFA, enlistment. And that should be no longer than a month.
Okay. All right. Sean Hensey has said, enjoying your videos, mate, and this is a good chat. I'm looking to my selection. Do you know any guys personally that have served with 2nd Commando Regiment? I do.
Personally?
Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of my friends are there now.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
What's the thing? I think most people in the veteran community would know someone.
We've what do you call it? We've got friends here who have died there, you know, and I've got their I've written poems for Ian Turner. I've got his book here on, where is it? On Mosul, you know. It's over here somewhere.
Yep.
Just let us know, mate, and we'll try our hardest to answer your question.
Yep. Big fella has asked, and he's asked a couple of times, sorry I've missed it. Do you guys have any idea how long the current enlistment wait times are? The time I was given for armoured vehicle crew is 3 to 6 months for enlistment. Do you think this is accurate? Had my PFA yesterday.
I would say it's accurate, and I'll explain something to you. Because they're not saying you can't do it. What is happening is, this is going to be tied to actual courses, IET training, that will be after that actual Kapuka time. So what they mean by this is, in 6 months, there might not be another IET course happening for another 7 months. So what they mean is that they might go, we've got enough people for the course it's going to be in 3 weeks. There's got enough people for the course it's going to be in 6 weeks. They've got one for the one that's going to be in 12 weeks, etc. And it won't be until you are actually ready for that next muster that goes in. Having said that, big fella, you know, that they may call you at a moment's notice and go, but are you ready to go right now? Because that happens all the time. All the time. So just be ready to go. Be dangerous, be fit, be prepared administrationally, medically, psychologically, and you'll be good. Good choice, by the way, too. Just like this thumbnail at the back, these Coke lids. Love it. So does Ben Cousins.
Okay. Have you got anything else to chat about?
No, that's pretty much a wrap. You know, we've got this weekend. I want to put a video out in the next day or so. Ultimately, I want to pick a month where we just put out shitloads of videos that aren't as stream orientated, you know, that aren't all military orientated. You know, I'd like to thank Mick H that rang me up yesterday to make sure I wasn't panicking over QPM's stocks falling. You know, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. As long as you don't sell, you've got no real loss, and as long as you don't cash in, you've got no real gains, have you? You know, life's going well. Looking forward to the weekend. Get some shut-eye. You know, make a phone call to Jordan about the van and see if I can't lock something in. And other than that, life could be a hell of a lot worse. I hope you like the new videos, how we do the green screen, so to speak.
The slideshows and that, it's awesome. And with the green screen, it was great because you know how I couldn't hear it, right? Your little video, but it was great. There was a big Kaz and a little Kaz.
That's right.
Your technology is blowing my mind away. It's so fancy.
Dos Kiz, as they'd say in New Zealand in Spanish. What we're going to do, if we can do 2 more questions, but before we say, I'd just like to summarise by saying that basically I believe that Australia's got to the stage we're sliding backwards when it comes to the lost souls within our population that could really do with a hand up instead of a hand out.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think we could divert a lot of problems, you know, in the future by maybe thinking about it. Oh, Fiona just got here and we're winding up. You'll have to rewatch, V.
You'll probably like it too, or you can wait until tomorrow or the next day and then have a view on what do you think. Fiona, what do you think of 28 countries, you know, 27 of them are only for national service and conscription for men only? As an independent young woman,
Yeah,
do you find that insulting?
Exactly. She's a strong woman. She's a smart woman. She's got a great sense of humour.
We'll see her on bench press before we see if she's strong or not.
Yeah. Well, she's, you know, to me, she's a strong woman. meaning she can, makes up her own mind. She's not a snowflake, that's for sure.
I am sometimes around puppies.
You are, we all are. Wannabe Dig said, talking about mistakes, will caution as a teen for criminal damage be a problem on the police check? Maybe not. That's not too bad. I know people who have gotten in with, stuff like that. But just be honest about it. Make sure you're prepared to answer questions about it.
Yep, that's it. And, life's good. What was I going to say? For all of the members, for Patreon and for the YouTube members, okay, what's going to occur is we are going to put a message out for you, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, and what it's going to allow you to do is these screens that are behind us, okay, you can actually say, this is what I want an image of, and I'll put your name down on that image, okay, and we're going to make a rolling back screen presentation, so when we do videos, you can actually get your picture with your name, okay, in the background. All right, so that's something to just say thank you to you guys too. You've got a lot of patience. A lot of questions get repeatedly asked, but no one really ever understands that some people are here for the very first time, and they deserve the best respect because they're starting their journey, and and I'm absolutely patient with that. Yep.
And all we ask for is a little bit of RESPECT in return.
Yeah, that's it. RESPECT.
That's right.
Well, I'm going to go and ring my daughter, and thank God I'm not on those girders. No one's feeling sorry for himself on that.
No, I'm going to go read that great book that a very handsome friend of mine sent me.
Ooh, he sounds like he'd be a good choice of a mahogany book picking bandicoot. I hope you get something out of tonight, team. I really do. We like to bring these topics to you. It's important that you hear outside the box thinking or discussions that you can take away from here and go, what do you think about that?
Yeah, exactly. We just want to get people talking as well. These are the things that we talk about, so why not include you in our conversations?
If you're talking about footy, then you need to come here longer to get some more topics to speak about. And if it always goes back to Army, that's your fault, because we're willing to talk about anything. Can we do one more question before we get out of here, please?
Yeah, if you'd like. Let me find one. Hang on, there was one. Jonathan Swift, I think he wrote Gulliver's Travels. I was thinking of starting a trade into becoming a mechanic. Could you offer some insight, please?
Well, mate, I couldn't handle the dildo, to be truthful. My hand, skills are pretty shit like that. Mate, I wouldn't even know. If you were going to do it in the military, then naturally it's Ramey. I do recommend going to the forces for trades for the simple reason you don't start off with that apprentice tradesman role as such relationship. Everyone is treated like a mature entry apprentice, and it pays more. Okay, it's standardized training that is accepted by all. It's got a real good stamp of approval from the civilian market, so to speak. It's not really my lane, mate. It's not. I'm sorry. And you know what? Ironically, you've probably got a hell of a lot of people in the chat right there while my head's getting bitten by a shark in the background that have so much information that they could give you guys on being a mechanic. But this guy, not so much. Meccano set.
There might be someone who can go out in the chat.
Yeah. But either way, that's us. Go and have a great time. Thank you very much for donating your time. Thank you very much for donating your shekels. And thank you for being mature in a conversation that could quite easily go heated very quickly. You never know when one day there might be a lottery that we potentially don't want to win. But that won't affect you because you guys would volunteer anyway. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Let's roll. How fast can you run a kilometre?